Siftpop podcast is recorded in front of a live internet audience.
Live from a bunker in the heart of the Ozarks. Pretty sure none of us are ever going to the dentist again. Or maybe even drinking water. It's Siftpop.
I'm really bad about going to the dentist.
What about drinking water? You do okay?
Not
I'm
really.
good.
Not really.
I drink a lot of water, actually. I like water.
Welcome to Siftpop, streaming
anymore.
live on Mixlr every Friday afternoon or available to download later in your podcast feed. Unless, of course, you're a patron.
Patrons get perks!
Patrons get those perks. I'm Aaron Dicer from YourMovieFriend.com, and I'm joined by Andrew Ormsby from Flick Freaks.
Ahoy!
Every week we'll be joined by a pop culture guru to chat about movies, television, and whatever else from the pop culture universe is on our minds. And today's guru, from the Horrible Movie Podcast, stand to your feet and welcome, it's Jack!
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Just Jack!
General Rebel!
In the house.
Jack, welcome back, man.
I'm glad to be here.
Love having you on.
Jack hosts
being
the Horrible Movie Podcast, which I've been on 3 times now.
Brag about it.
Andrew's coming on. Andrew's going to be on. We've got it scheduled. It's going to happen.
My goal to be on every single podcast on the planet is
It's coming together nicely.
You only have 75 billion more to visit.
Jack, thanks for being here. We're going to have some fun chatting today. Speaking of podcasts and all the podcasts on the planet,
yes.
guess which is the 48th most popular podcast on the planet in the category of TV and film?
Let me think about this.
It's this one, Jack!
What?
It's Siftpop!
In the house. In the hizzy.
First off, congratulations, Aaron.
Dude, congratulations to you.
I'm just a guy that breaks into your house every single Friday and gets overly excited about stuff. Honestly, it's all you.
Oh, thanks, man. No, it was really weird to see. Now, that has to do with me guest hosting on a very popular podcast, the Sincast, recently.
Never heard of
it. And so a lot of new people coming to find the show. First of all, if you are new to the show, welcome. Thanks for finding us. We have a great time talking pop culture. We hope you'll stick around. We have a great group of fans that join us for a live recording, as well as many that come through on the podcast as well. So, but when I saw that we were actually ranked in iTunes in the category, that really kind of blew my mind because, again, we're just in my basement, hanging out talking movies.
That's where it's at, though. It's all right.
Yeah, no.
Where the
it's
magic
fun.
happens, though.
No, I agree. It absolutely happens here. So thank you to everybody who has been there from the beginning. For all those who are new, thanks for downloading, hanging out, and having a good time. Jack, we'll give you some time to talk about Horrible Movie Podcast at the end, but just briefly, what do you guys do?
We have a guest on. They pick a horrible movie. They watch it. We used to watch it all together, but life is very busy. So now it's you watch it, you come on, we record, and we have guests from around this area or nationwide or wherever, and we just talk about a horrible movie. Pick it. Has to be a theater release movie. It can't be Sharknado.
Oh, like something on TV.
Cannot be Sharknado.
An MST3K movie.
Yeah, exactly. My favorite of that is Boggy Creek 2.
Yes.
My favorite MST3K one.
I think mine's EGA.
I gotta say, it's a wonderful podcast, and I'm happy to have been a part a few times.
It's fun. Thank you. I'm glad you're part of it. Is that Andrew's coming on? TheHorribleMoviePodcast.com and on Twitter at
Very
One Horrible Movie.
Well, before we get into a lot of stuff today, by the way, we'll be reviewing A Cure for Wellness today, The Great Wall. For our best ever challenge today, I love this. We're doing best ever movies that have the word great in the title.
Great.
So that'll be our best ever challenge. And of course, we'll have Buried Treasure at the end. And we'll have some Do We Care here in a second. But I wanted to try a new segment out here at the beginning. This won't happen every week.
You haven't even told me about this.
No, nobody knows about this new segment. We talked a little while ago about the fact that I am too slow to give up on TV shows, that I hold on to them too long. And I thought it might be fun if when I break up with a TV show, if I write a breakup letter.
An in memorial?
Just Aaron dumps a show.
I love
and so
this.
I have a show that I'm dumping.
Oh no!
And I want to make sure that I give it its fair send off. So
are you gonna have to burn all your memorabilia in a box in your backyard?
I don't know about that. All right. So here for the first time ever, Aaron dumps a show. And now we join another episode of Aaron Dumps a Show with Aaron Dicer. Dear Homeland. When we first met, you were so energetic and visceral. You had all the nonstop energy of 24, but with honest moral conundrums. I loved your performances, your intensity, and your story curves. But then you forgot what made you special. I stayed with you when you held on to the Brody character too long, through the silliness of Carrie keeping her jobs after what she'd done, through the increasingly ridiculous plot twists and reveals. But this season, you've gone too far. You took Quinn from me. You hurt him and changed him, and I can no longer be with you. Well, that and you're boring now. So, goodbye, Homeland, and as I delete you from my DVR, I will do so knowing I grow stronger without you, facing the future full of actually good television and ready for an extra hour in my week. Thank you.
It's good.
You know what? At least you didn't break up with him over text.
That's true.
That's right.
That was amazing. I love that. You please make that a regular segment whenever you break up with a show.
Whenever I dump a show, I will make sure that we bring it up.
I love that.
All right, Andrew, bring us some Do We Care?
Do We Care? Every single week, we choose 3 topics from the social medias that have to deal with what's going on in the entertainment world. We discuss them, and we decide whether we think they're worth talking about or not. Number 1 on Do We Care? PewDiePie has been dropped by Disney, has been removed from YouTube's recommended creators list, and has had his YouTube Red show canceled after a video released on his channel showed anti-Semitic skits.
I kind of don't care and also care. There are elements of this I care about.
Yeah.
But I think it's a hard one to go into. Jack, do you know what's going on here with PewDiePie?
There was one video. He had some sort of segue thing in there, and it had a sign, some people holding a sign that said something negative about Jews.
Yeah, so just real quick, then I'll talk about what happened. So there's a website called Fiverr, which I've used before. You can hire people to make like intro videos.
Right, yeah.
$5, and people will do something for you.
Yeah.
He wanted to see what people would do for $5, whether they would like do something horrible in the name of $5.
In the name of $5,
so
right.
he hired 2 guys to hold a sign while they're laughing that said, I think it said, I hate Jews.
Death to all Jews, I think.
Death to all Jews.
Yeah.
And they were laughing while they were holding it. It's like, wow, this is what people will do for $5. And it wasn't really anti-Semitic. Like, he wasn't saying that, like, what he thought.
It wasn't his point.
It wasn't his point.
Promoting it. It was...
This is what people will do for $5.
Right,
Right.
But it turns out that there were 9 other videos on his channel that
touched on anti-Semitism.
Exactly.
And here's the part that's difficult, because you cannot look into someone's heart, right? Like you can't know those things. And as somebody who puts a lot of content out there, I'm in front of a microphone talking off the cuff a lot in my life. And of course, I say that I can't imagine I would ever find myself in a situation like this, because I wouldn't stretch the lines like that far.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a part of it that's like, I don't know that this proves he's anti-Semitic in any way.
I think what happens though is example, right now.
Yeah.
You've said, Jack, come on my podcast.
Right.
And I just start ripping into crazy territory you don't want to go there.
Right.
Then that becomes your problem.
Well,
Does that make sense?
Well,
and so I think that
there's a difference between live and produce as well.
That's true.
If you started ripping crazy on my podcast, I could edit it out for the podcast part, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
But yeah. Anyway, so...
And I guess if he left those videos on his YouTube, then that's that's on him.
So is it possible for me to say you made an awful mistake and should not have had that content on your YouTube channel, and also I feel for you? Like, are those two things mutually exclusive? Like... I believe
there's
both?
No such thing as black and white. There are, what he was trying to do.
I've seen black and I've seen white. I know that those colors exist.
I don't think a company
Aaron.
I don't think a company like Disney deals in gray area very well. And I think they would probably say, is this family friendly? If not, then we're going to get rid of it.
Well, and I did.
PewDiePie's never been family friendly,
but it was already on the line, and so he crossed the line, and then.
I did see his response. This is one of the things.
It was a good response.
It was a really good response.
I didn't see the response.
And one thing he said in the response that I really want to give him credit for is he said, I don't blame Walt Disney and YouTube for canning my stuff. He said, I get it. Like, they have shareholders, and so I thought that was really mature for him to say, that he doesn't like hold animosity for them because they're just doing their corporate thing.
Here's the thing, though. PewDiePie's going to be fine.
You think?
50 million subscribers. He has more people subscribed to his channel than some countries have citizens.
Than many countries.
Then
have
many
citizens.
countries have citizens.
But does he have the 48th most popular podcast in the TV film on iTunes?
I'll tell you what, he does not.
That's right, he doesn't. Yeah, no, you're right. PewDiePie, I'm sure he'll be fine. All right, what's next?
Number 2. This is a follow-up to a Do We Care that we had last week, okay? Last week, we discussed that Ben Affleck was no longer going to be directing the Warner Brothers film, The Batman, because he wanted to focus on the performance. Well, this week, we learned that Matt Reeves, the director of Cloverfield and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, is most likely going to be helming that project until it was leaked that Ben Affleck is trying to get out of playing the Batman
Not a
altogether.
surprise. Not a surprise. Are any of us surprised?
Last week, you said you don't think this film is ever going to get made.
I don't think it's going to happen.
But why?
Not this version of the film. I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Why does he want out?
I think
he's tired.
I think he's seeing the mess and the chaos behind the scenes at
chaos,
DC.
Yeah.
So I think it's really tough for them.
They're rolling out a lot of stuff in a very short amount of time.
Yeah,
and that's an issue.
Isn't that if you could
they
go
have
down
Marvel
to
envy?
That's exactly right. If you boil it down to a primary mistake, it's Marvel envy, and it's trying to get to where Marvel is,
and they don't need to be
too
that
quickly.
Way.
No,
and the thing is, everybody and their mother knows that it's Marvel envy, except Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
They don't see it, and everybody on the planet is telling them that's your problem, but they're blind to it. I don't know what else to say.
Dollar signs.
Yeah, dollar signs.
Dollar.
Speaking of Warner Brother, you guys ready for number 3?
Sure, let's do it.
So after I read this, I had to check the date to make sure it wasn't an April Fool's thing. I'm like, it's not April.
Still a month and a half away.
It's still a month and a half away. This is real. I checked multiple sources on this, credible sources, okay? So bear with me. This is insane.
Okay.
Warner Brothers has possibly found its new director for Suicide Squad 2.
Oh, I did see this.
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson.
What is going on in the world?
Well, he did.
He likes violence.
He loves that.
He loves
Mel Gibson
violence.
directing Suicide Squad 2.
I love it.
Yeah, I
actually really love it.
I do
It made
too.
me laugh. Like, okay.
Well, because here's the thing. If you're DC and you want to make good movies, it starts with hiring good directors and letting them do their thing. And I get the feeling that Mel Gibson, if this happens, he's going to do his movie. Like, he's not going to put up with, the idea of them, handcuffing what he wants to do. If it's going to be a Mel Gibson film, he's going to want it to be a Mel Gibson film. Because, by the way, he's got an incredible track record as a director.
Yeah. Apocalypto.
So here's
great.
the thing.
It's great.
That's
That's
the exact same thing I thought about David Ayer. I know David Ayer doesn't have the same...
No, he doesn't have this. The same gravitas that Gibson does.
Exactly, but I thought that David Ayer, I'm like, man, this is going to be the guy to come in. He's going to turn things around because
that's true.
He's so not Snyder, and they made him Snyder.
Yeah.
They Snydered him.
Snydered him.
I was Snydered.
Exactly.
Well, what I'm saying is I think Gibson may be Snyder proof. I think he might
Snyder proof.
Regardless of what
Along
you think
came a
about
Snyder.
I'm tired of saying this, and I have to say it every single time we talk about Mel Gibson. Regardless of what you think of the guy personally, he's one of the greatest directors ever.
He knows how to make a film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dude, he gets it. He knows how to tell a story. So
That's going to wrap it up for Do We Care?
all right, let's chat some movies. We'll start with A Cure for Wellness.
Are you ready, Mr. Lockhart? Then let us begin.
Oh boy, guys. This was a movie.
It was a movie.
Cure for Wellness is about a Wall Street stockbroker played by Dane DeHaan, who you may remember from Amazing Spider-Man 2, as well as what else was he in?
He was in that superhero movie where it was
yeah. Chronicle. Yeah, that's what I remember him from the most is Chronicle.
Yeah.
He was amazing.
I was
in
trying to
Chronicle.
remember the name of it. Chronicle.
Anyways, he travels to a remote location in the Swiss Alps to retrieve his company's CEO from an idyllic but mysterious wellness center. He soon suspects that the miraculous treatments are not what they seem. Let's start with did you like it, love it, it was okay, disliked it, or hated it, Jack?
I love water. I love H2O. I love it. In this scenario, not as much. Hated it.
Hated it from Jack.
Thought it was like a trip to the dentist.
There you go. Andrew?
Aaron, I hated this movie.
More than you've hated anything in your life.
I hated this movie. So I was so excited for this movie.
Were you?
I was really excited for this movie. I thought this was going to be Gore Verbinski's return to like making great horror films. I hated this movie.
Hated it. Well, I'm going to be the one, unfortunately, defending this movie. I did not like it, but I would probably be on the high side of didn't like it. So almost to meh. Because there are some things in this movie that are absolutely great filmmaking. Now, not great storytelling, but great filmmaking.
The visuals
like
of the mountains and everything,
there's just some really interesting things going on here. And it's one of the reasons I often make the distinction that I don't like saying a movie is bad as much as it's not for me. This is not a movie for me in so many ways.
Who's it for?
I think there will be Gore Verbinski fans who love this movie. I really do.
Okay.
And I think down the line, this is the kind of movie that becomes a cult classic.
Wow.
Because it's so strange.
Well, it is strange.
It is so strange.
It hits that one for
All
sure.
right, we'll get into some details. Did you guys since you both hated it, did you have anything you liked about it before I talk about just a couple positives?
I had two pros.
All right, why don't you start, Andrew?
So I did say visually stylized, this movie, for the most part, is beautiful to look at. Cinematography is like the one saving grace of this film.
And it's meticulous, too. Like, the framing is meticulous.
Now, there's a huge difference between cinematography and editing, which I will get into later.
Okay.
Wanted to make that clarification.
That's a fair point, yeah.
My other one, Dane DeHaan and Jason Isaacs deliver serviceable performances.
Mm-hmm. I thought Dane DeHaan was great. I really like him. I don't know that I've ever seen him in something that I don't think he does a great performance. I don't think he's the problem in this movie.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. What about you, Jack? Anything, any pros?
Visually, I remember thinking from the very first shot of him on the train riding through the mountains, very beautiful.
Yeah, and the way it started with kind of like a mirrored half train. Like, I mean, he's just he finds really interesting ways to shoot mundane things.
But also, at that point, especially in the movie, you're thinking, what am I really watching? Is this? I kept doing this early on. Is any of this even real? Maybe this is some sort of a dream sequence scenario.
Yeah, I want to talk about the two, and maybe we'll go a little further when we talk spoilers on this in the spoiler cast, especially because we'll need to get into some kind of story details. But I had the same thought about what is real, what isn't real, those kind of things.
But then I felt like things kind of became a little predictable. So then I was kind of like, oh.
Aaron, what did you like about this movie? There has to be more to it
than just the visuals.
Yeah.
Yes. Here's the other thing that I think Gore Verbinski gets. I think he understands mystery. He understands the idea of what is going on here. Like, what is happening? What is happening in this world? Why is this happening? Why is this person doing this? Like, he gets how to create tension in the mystery of an audience. The problem is what he doesn't get that you have to combine that with dropping clues. You have to combine that with reveals and with, story momentum and a way to, buy into what's going on. But I thought there were, I can't give specifics until we talk spoilers. But
Sure.
I thought there were several little things, especially in the first 30 minutes of the movie, that he drops in there. They're like, ooh, what's that? What does that mean? What does that quote mean? What does that item mean? You know, like you feel like he's painting a picture of something, and you're not sure what it is yet. And that does take talent. Like I said, unfortunately, I don't think he ever zooms out enough for us to really understand what he's doing. But I did appreciate that part of it, at least. And I do think, here's where people will land that really like this movie, is in the metaphor. There's a really interesting metaphor in this movie about our lives of especially corporations, big business, those kind of things, where these guys come from, stockbrokers, those kind of things, using well-meaning poor people to get what they need to get richer and richer and richer. And there's a really interesting metaphor here that you could lay over that idea of, the corporatization of America or other countries that some people will talk about. I don't think that metaphor worked very well. I really don't. I don't think it was solid enough for me to latch onto it, to love it. And I don't even know if it was intentional. But I do know that is something that people will probably talk about. So those were the things that I pulled out kind of as positives. Okay. And the reason I don't absolutely hate it, because I know, I really feel like this is a talented filmmaker who just told an awful story. That's kind of how I feel at the end of the day. Well, let's get into the negatives, because that's where most of the review is going to be, especially until we get to spoilers.
Yeah. So
you want to start us off, Jack? What didn't you like?
About this movie, the parts... Oh, no spoilers, right?
Yeah. No spoilers yet.
Sorry. There's... without giving it away... I feel like
Can I just throw out a word?
Please.
I'm not sure this is where you're going,
He probably is.
but the word I would say is there's a perversity to it.
In a way that's so dark that you go, I don't even care to talk about it.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And to the point where I'm like, completely unnecessary.
Yeah. And there, in order to
Thanks for bailing me out there, by the way.
No.
Because I was like, how do I say this without
Andrew, do you know what we're talking about?
Yeah.
There's a real descent into, and it almost seems exploitative in
that's
some
the word
ways.
I was going to say. It's really exploitative. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, into some really perverse ideas. And again, for a certain subset of fans, that's something they're going to latch on to. But there seems to be a delight in the perversity of it in some ways. And it's a really icky thing.
An oversaturation of perversion.
Yeah, I think so too. So that was a big thing. What about you, Andrew?
This film is boring.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, this film would not end.
Yeah.
It's like Gore Verbinski watched Lord of the Rings: Return of the King and said, "Not enough endings," and he just threw in like 15 endings to this movie. It just wouldn't. 2.5 hours of my life I will never get back.
And not to give anything away here, but we can in spoilers. But the ending he decided to like leave us with was just I didn't understand it at all.
The tone was like ridiculous. I'm like,
the tone
that's
completely
like
shifted.
anything the rest of this movie.
The tone shifted 4 or 5 times throughout the course of this film.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and this film is 2.5 hours long, but honestly, there's only about an hour and 20 minutes of this movie that's necessary. There's an hour and 10 minutes of this that is thrown in there for what is supposed to be this, sense of creepiness, suspense, and tension, but it's just incredibly boring and just lackluster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt that too. The pacing seems
Weird
off.
movie.
The editing seems off.
So weird.
It just doesn't seem like it's put together well. You feel like he's getting caught up in the visuals a little too much because he doesn't want to throw away these gorgeous shots that he's created.
Right.
And so he's not servicing story in those moments. He's servicing some sort of art, which again, for some people, I'm going to tell you that they're going to like that.
But I feel like filmmakers, I've said this many times before, in this situation, I feel like filmmakers probably say, where can we shoot this awesome movie so I can take a trip? And I mean, how much fun would it have been
Go to the Swiss Alps.
to go to the Swiss Alps
yeah.
and film this thing
Right.
in those locations? Like, I think that's, for me, the only redeeming quality for the whole movie is that part of it.
The beauty of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Anything else you wanted to touch on in the negatives before we do one more thing?
So I'm a huge fan. Like, if you're going to do a horror film, or like not American Gothic, but Gothic, classic Gothic horror, which is really what this film is trying to capture here is, the old sanitarium, insane asylum, Gothic kind of feel to it. He gets so close to getting a glimmer of that, but it just didn't work.
He didn't hop in that realm enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, he could have really just hammered that home and got rid of some of the weirdo stuff. And
this film could have
should
had...
I say weirdo? Is that bad? Maybe.
No, you're fine.
You're
Is
all
that
right.
okay for me
You're
to say
going to be okay,
weirdo
Jack.
stuff?
You're going to be okay.
Because I know you're a fan of films like Shutter Island.
Sure. No, I like a
where
good
they
suspense thriller.
Where like the sanitarium and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Those films can be done really well and like have a really creepy vibe where you don't know what's going on the entire time. I had this film figured out 15 minutes. Every single detail that was actually explained. There's a whole bunch of stuff in this movie that was thrown in there, never touched on again, but everything that had an explanation to it in the film, I figured it out.
Yeah, none of it felt like a really big reveal.
Yeah.
It felt like it was all there from the beginning or from, pretty early on.
But if you're going to do suspense thriller, like, okay, this is what I thought in the movie. Whenever I was sitting in the theater, I'm like, okay, so that's going to be the red herring that they want me to think is going to be going on. I wonder what's going to happen actually.
Yeah.
But there was no actually happening. The red herring was the reveal. I'm like, what?
Well, it kind of was. But again, this is the problem. This is the problem. I don't think he understands how to move a mystery along. I don't think it's like...
But he does in The Ring. He did.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Well, I guess The Ring was an adaptation, so technically that wasn't him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I don't have anything really to add to any of that. And if you guys got one more thing, we'll get into it. Andrew, you got one more thing?
Did I have one more thing? Did I even bother giving this film one more thing? Gore Verbinski has been on a downward trajectory for a while for me, and I was hoping this was going to be the film to bring him back, but instead he just put his career for me in a nosedive.
What about you, Jack? One more thing?
This movie is like a trip to the dentist. So that's all I got.
I don't even know that I have one more thing, so we can just move on. I think that's a big skip it from all three of us. Unless you're a huge Gore Verbinski fan.
Skip it.
You love, what do they call them? Gonzo movies, I think. Movies that just, completely eschew everything Hollywood and try to be their own thing. Maybe you'll enjoy it in that way, but I would say
it's not
skip
even
it.
art house, really.
No, not really. All right, let's move on to the second movie. Let's talk about The Great Wall.
I was born into battle. I fought for greed and gods. This is the first war I've seen. Worth fighting for.
Matt Damon is back. He's in the hunt for great international box office and also apparently monsters in The Great Wall. As we said it in China, taking a look at this movie. Did you see it, by the way, Andrew? I didn't know if you got a chance to see this.
I saw the trailers for this, and I'm like, there is no way I'm wasting my life on that movie.
Aren't you glad you chose A Cure for Wellness instead?
Yeah, man, I really lucked out there.
I love it.
Listen,
So
this is the
I do
better
have
movie of the two.
Which is crazy.
Which is crazy.
Which
but
is
this is
kind
the
of
better
crazy
movie.
to say that.
Because I'm going to let you guys, I have questions.
Okay.
I have questions. So
let me set it up a little
thoughts,
bit more.
general
Let me
thoughts.
set it up a little more. Great Wall is a monster film directed by Zhang Yimou. It stars Matt Damon, and he plays a European mercenary who's in China during the Song Dynasty, and we find the real reason that the Great Wall was erected. So what did you think overall? Like it, love it, it was okay, disliked it, hated it?
Okay. Meh.
That's where I'm going to land
Meh.
too. Just kind of, it was okay.
Yeah.
I think that's where I have to
Meh.
land too.
There's some major misses that this thing could have probably done better, but it's got weird pacing, and I'm thinking because of the international aspect of it. Like I really feel like that may be it, that we or maybe aren't the key audience for this.
It's interesting, right? Because you could feel that this almost felt like a Chinese film
Like you
in
kind
some
of look
way.
around like, I don't think they meant for me to, like I don't think they're worried about what I think about this.
Yeah, and I think
And that's okay. Hey, great.
It's
Hey,
a
who
really
cares? I
interesting
don't care.
thing that Hollywood's doing. You'll notice a lot more movies are being financed by Chinese film
What was
companies.
that Adrian
and-
Brody movie from?
I
Oh,
don't know which
Beijing?
Yeah,
I think it's called
so. It's like
Beijing.
over. It's like about. I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
I know what you're
Rabbit
talking
trail.
about.
It's just
It was
it's an interesting
huge.
Hollywood
Like,
trend.
it was huge in China, like in Asia, in
Huge,
general.
in
Huge,
China.
huge in China, huge. Anyway, but here, no one even knew what was.
It's the third largest country. It's pretty huge.
Makes sense.
That's true.
Huge.
That's true. All right, why don't you ask us some questions? Maybe we'll get into our thoughts, more as you kind of, since you didn't see it, Andrew. Like,
Okay.
what do you want to know?
So, just for the fans who don't know, Yimou Zhang, he's made some really good movies. He made Hero, the Jet Li movie, one of like the most visually stunning movies that's come out of like China, I believe. And then he also did Flowers of War with Christian Bale, also visually stunning and beautiful. Is this movie visually stunning and beautiful, or does it just come across as just a campy action flick?
I'd say there are parts of it that are extremely beautiful,
I would say so.
and there are parts of it that are a campy action flick.
Okay.
It's got both of those things. I really loved the design of the army, of the Chinese army. I thought there was some real thought put into what they looked like and kind of the color schemes and different things like that, and the way they fought. I thought all that stuff was really good. And that's part of the visual thing, I think.
Okay. Jack?
I think that for what it is, for a movie of its genre, it's by far not the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt Damon's not even necessarily Matt Damon in this. He has a
See, that's the
funky, weird
main
accent
thing.
that comes and goes. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not.
Well, it was there when he had the beard, and then once the beard came off, he was like old Matt Damon again.
Right, and he was like
It's
going to do like
the
a
magic voice beard.
he was
came
going to do
off.
like a Kyber throw, and do World's Strongest Man type stuff, and with Magnus for a while there, and then he became.
The main thing that doesn't work is Damon, and not only that, Damon has such a great sense of humor. Like you watch The Martian, and he's so on in that movie,
Or the Ocean's movies. He's
yeah, or
good
the
in those.
Ocean's
Yeah.
movies,
Yeah.
or whatever. He's just such a great sense of humor. The humor in this was awful. Like it was so bad. Like I thought it fell flat. Like you could
Much-
tell we're trying to throw in jokes
Yes.
here, and
Much like Season of the Witch.
yes, Much like Season of the Witch.
Here's the next question. So the movie has really good actors in it, like Matt Damon and Willem Dafoe, Pedro Pascal, and Andy Lau. How are the performances in the movie?
Not good.
No.
Dafoe's not good.
No.
Damon's not good. Who's Damon's friend? Was that the other guy you
Pedro
mentioned?
Pascal.
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal?
Yeah.
He was probably the best
He was
performance.
probably better than the rest of them.
He's
But-
been in like Game of Thrones, and he's also in
Yeah, yeah.
Narcos. That guy.
Narcos, yeah, I remember him from Narcos.
Okay, yeah.
No, I don't think the performances are great in this at all.
If you like it more than A Cure for Wellness, there has to be some pros here.
Oh, absolutely. I think some of this action really works. I love some of the stuff the Army does. I don't think it's a spoiler to say it's a monster movie. That's in the marketing. You know,
Right.
they're keeping out these monsters. I loved. Now, I will say there is some really bad CG in this. Like sometimes where, especially when they pan out, where I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, somebody did that on a computer. You know.
This is
But there are moments where I bought into these monsters and how they interacted. I liked their kind of culture. The idea of it was interesting. And some of those war scenes were really cool.
the Chinese army in here has I'm going to say this way without spoiling it a little bit. There are certain divisions inside of, and I kind of like that aspect of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I feel like they could have fleshed that out more and left behind Matt Damon in this, and it probably would have been more entertaining for me.
You know, that's interesting that, even as much as he's supposed to be the central character, the movie could have worked without him
I don't
just
have
fine.
to have an American to like a movie, just
Yeah.
so everyone knows. Like, it doesn't have to be.
Did it feel
No,
like
that's a good point.
whitewashing? You just thrown in the famous white guy in
Well,
the
it
movie?
wasn't whitewashing. I mean, it was primarily Chinese actors.
Yeah,
It was just,
they didn't ever say, "Oh, he's also from China."
no, he was
Here
he was
is.
absolutely from Europe.
Yeah,
So
yeah, but
But I
he
mean,
was-
like, it's supposed to be the Great Wall, but you're throwing in a white guy to save the day.
Sure. Yeah, I think you could probably knock it for that maybe a little bit, but they certainly had their own amazing, marksmen and different things in the army. So it wasn't like he was the only one doing cool stuff.
Okay, and I have one last question.
Sure.
So, this movie, based on the trailer that I saw, the costume design looked really good. Just in the trailer, was it just the trailer only had the good costume
Oh
design?
no,
or-
I loved the costume
right.
design.
I
This-
thought that was maybe the best
Yeah.
aspect, maybe. Of
Yeah,
the-
when I was talking about visuals, that was my
Okay.
primary thing about visuals, just how beautifully it was costumed, and yeah, I thought that stuff looked great. Let's do one last thing if you've got one, Jack, and then we'll move on. But,
one last thing. This had it has like a drum line sequence in it.
uh-huh.
There's a drum corps.
Yeah.
This army has a drum
A
corps.
little bit of
in it.
stomp.
And that's what I felt like. I felt like I was like, what happened here? That was kind of funny to me.
Did it work?
I mean, it did.
Yeah, it worked
to
all
a
right.
point. It wasn't
I think
like
it worked all right.
It wasn't like a complete scene killer, but it didn't make my day. So
Yeah.
but it made me laugh a little bit. It did make me laugh. Like, I'll talk about it more when we talk about spoiler, but it kind of cracked me up.
My one last thing is I'm always up for a movie that will retcon history in some way or another.
Oh, yeah.
And, if you're going to take I look forward to seeing what the Eiffel Tower was actually built for and, all these other things that we have, the Grand Canyon, how that actually happened.
Abraham Lincoln
and-
Vampire Hunter.
Exactly.
That's great.
Another classic cinema undertaking. So, yeah, I thought that stuff was really interesting. So overall, though, just kind of there. If you have a boring Friday night once it's out on DVD or something, you want to throw it in and just kind of laugh at some of the ridiculousness and enjoy some of the action, then maybe you can do that. But certainly don't see it for Matt Damon because you won't recognize him.
It was released in China in December.
Oh, it's been out there for a
It's
bit.
been out there. So, and it's already made back its budget.
It's nominated for their version
I'm
of the
sure
Oscars
it's
because
the
it came
best
out
ever.
last year.
Exactly. So its purpose was not us.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
It's
Let's talk a little bit about our Patreon supporters. Give a little thank you to the people who keep this podcast going. Thank you so much for doing that. If you go to patreon.com/StudioDNA, that's a podcast network that Siftpop is on, and you do $3 a month, there's a really cool thing that I want you to know that you get, which is your own dedicated podcast feed. Every time we go live, we spend time in what we call the pre-show, chatting with people who are listening live, doing some, like today we talked about, Gore Verbinski movies and ones we like and ones we didn't like. That's only available to those who listen live or our patrons. And it shows up right in your podcast feed if you support at $3 a month. So, and then you also know you'll support what's going on here and know that we appreciate you. So go to patreon.com/StudioDNA if you're interested. And thanks so much for believing in what we do. Let's move on to the best ever challenge for this week. This could be a fun one in honor of The Great Wall. What are the best ever movies with the word great in the title? So what we'll do is we'll each pick three, our top three in order. We'll go from number 3 to number 1. We'll also do some honorable mentions at the end. If your choice is higher than somebody who mentions it,
Trump.
Just yell Trump, and you get to talk about it later instead. So I think I started last time. Andrew, why don't you start this time?
Number 3, it's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Yes, Trump.
You're trumping it?
Trump.
All right.
What do you got at number 3, Jack?
I had that one too, though.
At number 3?
Yes.
Trump.
All right, Aaron.
My number 3 is The Great Muppet Caper.
Good call. That was an honorable mention for me.
John Cleese is so great.
Yeah.
And it's not one of the more commonly referred to Muppet movies, but they're all so good. And this one's a lot of fun as well. So I had it at number 3.
Like it.
All right, what do you got at number 2?
The Great Dictator.
Good choice. I've actually
Oh,
never...
wait, no, number 2. Not number 3.
Yeah, I said number 2, didn't I?
I thought you said number 3. But yeah, The Great
Number
Dictator.
8. Sorry.
The Great Dictator, his speech that Charlie Chaplin gives at the end of that movie is like one of the most iconic speeches.
I've never seen it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Well, it's inspiring, I'll say that.
I had it in my honorable mentions because I think you have to mention it because it's such a well-known movie, but I'm glad that you've actually seen it because it gives us a way to talk about it.
If anything, at least go on YouTube and watch that speech because it stands the test of time and it's still relevant to this day.
It's also interesting because Charlie Chaplin is known for the silent film era, and yet here he is
giving
making
one of
this
the
amazing speech.
One of the most infamous speeches in cinema history. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
What do you got at number 2, Jack?
The Great Escape.
Trump.
Well,
Well, how can you trump it?
Well, because I still got 2 left.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Great Escape. Steve McQueen, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll chat about it here in a second. Now it's time to chat about The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. That's my number 2.
All right.
Man, there are just some items of pop culture that are so laden with nostalgia that I can't see straight. Like, it is the Charlie Brown specials are those, the Christmas and Halloween especially, and the Great Pumpkin stuff. I just remember watching that over and over and over again. The ghost comes out of the the cornfield, and is it the Great Pumpkin? Is it the Great Pumpkin?
It's my dad's favorite movie of all time.
Oh, it's so...
Right.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
amazing.
Every single Halloween, we watch 2 movies. We watch that one and
Hocus Pocus? Oh, sorry.
Ernest Scared Stupid.
Sorry.
Ernest Scared Stupid.
That's my favorite Halloween movie.
That's a freaky movie.
Yeah.
But maybe by kid standard. Maybe when I was a kid.
Ernest Scared Stupid.
But yeah, we watched it's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. I cannot talk right now.
It's fine.
Charlie Brown.
We watch that movie every single Halloween. It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
What did you want to say about it, Jack?
It's awesome. Like, it's just phenomenal. Charlie Brown movies. I base a lot of things on my 6-year-old, which is really weird, but he loves anything Charlie Brown.
Did you grow up with the Peanuts and everything?
Oh, yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
I'm not that old, man.
No,
Peanuts,
I'm like...
Peanuts predates me.
What I mean was it a part of your life? Like, some people
was
grew
for
up
us.
and like...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All the Peanut specials. And it's amazing, too, because it made such a great transition from comic strip to, motion picture, to video action. Like, that's not an easy thing to do always, because people have an idea about characters in their head from a comic strip. Like, I see a lot of the Garfield stuff that's happened over the years, and I'm just like, you didn't quite get there, you know? But Charlie Brown, they just nailed it. And I think that's probably because, Charles Schultz probably knew exactly what he wanted and how he wanted it to be, and he probably had a lot of say in that. So
I think that's why we're never going to see a live action version of Calvin and Hobbes, is because it's so
how
personal.
would you? Yeah,
I don't think you could do it.
It'd be, but you could have said the same thing for Peanuts, and they did it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was beloved. So all right, on to number 1. We
both had the
we
same
already
one.
know what our number one's. Jack,
Okay,
why don't you go?
The Great Outdoors.
I had that in my honorable
It's
mentions.
The Great Outdoors.
Why do you love that as your favorite
It's
great movie?
So hilarious.
Funny movie.
John Candy is great. Dan Aykroyd plays... Dan Aykroyd is Dan Aykroyd in that movie. Like, he is spot on Dan Aykroyd. Roman is Dan Aykroyd. And the leeches part where they are in the boat. So it's really funny. The bear.
The bear
the
is
shotgun,
funny,
the
man.
bear,
Yeah.
the raccoons that are talking.
It is a funny movie for
It's good.
sure.
The old 76er or whatever it is, steak that he eats, or old 86er. Someone
Yeah.
listening can tell me about it. But
We have a version of that here in the area with Bear's Burger. They have that giant
monster
burger
Yeah,
or
it's
whatever.
huge.
If you eat the whole thing, you get it for free.
You know, we've tried that
You have?
on the channel. We tried that once.
Yeah, how'd it go?
Did not end well for Jareth.
Was he the one trying it?
Mm-hmm.
How'd he do? I want to know, like, how much
He
did
got
he
a
get?
fourth of the way through.
So,
But
including the bun and the toppings and
he
what about the
ate-
fries?
He
You
ate
have
all
to eat
the
the
meat.
fries too,
He ate
right?
all the meat.
Okay.
'Cause-
He ate the entire meat?
Yeah, he ate all the meat. He ate all the
Wow.
bacon and all the patties and everything. But
and that was the last day on Earth for him.
yeah.
Rest
You
in
see him.
peace.
You see him now, and he just looks like a part of his soul is gone. It's because
He's
it's
losing
because of that burger.
He's losing teeth and sorry, that's
Oh,
the
Yeah.
man.
wrong movie.
yeah.
Wow. Poor Jareth.
But Aaron, you and I both have the same number one. Apparently,
Yeah. Of course. The
You
Great
wanna-
Escape.
I'll let you talk about the Great Escape first.
Oh, it's just amazing. Steve McQueen. It's one of the best prison escape movies ever made, if not the best. I love.
Man,
What can you think of one that's better?
Escape from Alcatraz.
I mean, other than Chicken Run, but
you know what? You joke.
no, I'm not joking.
You
I
joke.
love Chicken Run.
I think
Chicken
I'm-
Run has some Great Escape like homages in it too.
Yeah, I honestly maybe Escape from Alcatraz, the
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood movie.
Yeah. First season
But-
of Prison Break, maybe.
Maybe Papillon.
Yeah.
but-
I just, it's just
Yeah.
so well done. What do you like?
So Steve McQueen, like you said, maybe the original Magnificent Seven, but I think this might be one of the best, if not
It's
the
up
best
there
Steve
for
McQueen.
sure, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But yeah, just Steve McQueen and Charlie Bronson and all those guys. I think it's fascinating, based on a true story, so that's why it always gets me. And the fact that a couple of the people in this movie, I think 4 or 5 actors in this movie were actually POWs.
Oh wow,
That's
I
awesome.
didn't know that.
Not like of that actual prison, but
Sure.
some of them were actually German POWs for Americans.
What was, speaking of POWs, I guess that does count as prison escape. What was the one was this Christian Bale in a POW?
Yeah, the Vietnam one that he did
Yeah.
with.
That was really good. That'd be up there for me if that counts as a prison escape.
What's the
movie.
machine?
I
Is
don't
it
know that-
Machine? That's not Machinist. What's the one?
No,
where
no,
he-
no, it
that's
wasn't the Machinist.
What's that one about? That's something horrible. isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's
Never
like
mind.
yeah, he's
The
like a
Machinist is-
sociopath kind
yeah.
of thing.
Okay, there you go. He lost a bunch of weight for that role.
Yeah.
Side note.
Yeah,
Sorry.
if you ever want to see something amazing,
Rescue Dawn.
Rescue Dawn. I really liked Rescue Dawn.
He lost a lot. Him and Steve Zahn lost so much weight, and Jeremy Davies. Yeah, that was a really good movie.
By the way, side note, Rescue Dawn, the very first movie I ever reviewed on YouTube.
Really?
Yep.
What'd you give it?
I don't remember. I'd have to go back and watch it, but it's actually
it was a
my-
positive review, I guess.
Yeah, it was the third video I ever put up on YouTube was a review of Rescue Dawn.
Wow.
So,
How about that?
how about it?
YouTube. How about that YouTube?
How about that YouTube?
And that
I
YouTube.
wish I could remember the first movie I reviewed on YouTube. I'd have to go back and
Yeah,
look.
you can go look it up. All right, talk about honorable mentions. I want to mention Great Gatsby.
Oh, that was the only
The-
one. I was
the
gonna
only one I
mention.
can
There's
think of,
several
too.
versions. I would go with the Leo
Redford.
version.
I'm going with Redford.
I haven't seen the Redford version, so
Another one, the great mouse detective.
yes, I had that on mine
Yep,
as
me
well.
too, yeah,
Great
yeah.
Mouse Detective, of course. I
Lindsay
love.
holds
Price
up.
is
I
in
watched
it.
that the other day. It holds up.
I'm surprised by that the Land Before Time 2 and the Land Before Time 3
True.
both have subtitles that have the word great in
Yeah,
them.
but
So
Subtitles don't count.
sure they do.
Rockadoodle was was from the maker of
The Great Warakadoodle.
yes, the great
Rockadoodle.
Rockadoodle.
And that's all. That was all my honorable mentions because the others got mentioned. What about you guys? You have any more honorable
Just
mentions?
had Great
The
Gatsby.
Great Train Robbery. I think we have to mention it.
Sure, I haven't seen it, so
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah. Somebody in the chat mentions Oz the Great and Powerful.
That's good. Yeah.
I didn't enjoy that as much
I
as
didn't.
a lot of people did, but yeah, certainly worth mentioning.
Yeah. Great Expectations. It's,
Yeah,
I
I'd
think
say
people
you could go
really.
with
I
Great
think
Expectations.
people think of the book more than the movie.
Right.
But yeah.
So there you go. Great movies.
Great people.
Oh, of course, the Alec Baldwin, Winona Ryder movie, Great Balls of Fire.
This is Jerry Lee Lewis.
Jerry Lee Lewis. Yeah.
Yeah.
That movie's
That dude
weird.
was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was crazy.
He was pretty weird.
Some good music though.
It's a good movie.
Those great movies are great.
Good. They're great.
Those are great movies.
Man, they're great.
Let's move on to Buried Treasure. What's one thing in the area of pop culture anywhere, movies, television, and beyond that you wanted to bring to the surface this week so that people might know more about it.
You mind if I go first? Just
Go
to
for
get
it.
it out of the way, because it's something that's already been both of these have both been buried treasures, but it's literally the only new thing in my life since last week.
Okay.
So I watched both The Founder and Lion.
Oh, yeah.
Founder was pretty good. Lion was phenomenal.
Isn't it great?
Oh, man. I was bawling at the end of that movie.
What a great movie. It's always weird when because everybody who sees it are like, oh man, I cried so hard. And I know people who haven't seen it are like, I don't want to watch a movie that's going to make me cry.
Mm-hmm.
You want to watch this movie that's going to make you cry. I'm telling you, it's really good and powerful and important to see. So
I'm
glad you saw it, man.
The only new thing in my life. I wanted to see Legion, so that could be my buried treasure, because I hear it's really good.
I've seen the first episode. We are planning on talking about that next week, actually. So,
really? Okay.
Yeah, we like to wait till we've seen 3 episodes of something before, kind of going a little deeper. So I think the 3rd episode comes out this week.
I
So.
was going to have Powerless as my buried treasure, but the show's not good. So I don't want that to be
You can do
my
the buried trash. We've
buried
done that
tra-
before.
Buried trash. That's
Buried
my
trash.
That's my buried trash.
The Atari
Keep it
games.
buried. Keep
E.T.
it buried.
The game is what we're talking about. Buried trash.
What do you got, Jack?
Okay. Speaking of video games, I just said that about Atari. For my birthday, my only request was a Nintendo 64.
Aw, like
And
a legit old school 64?
An emulator doesn't do the job. Like people talk
No,
about that.
I hear you.
Producer Phil from our podcast. Oh, just get an emulator. No.
No. I want to hold. I want to hold the controller.
And I got there's 2 wrestling games that I got on there, and a couple others. And
Did you Google
Star
GoldenEye?
Fox is the best. GoldenEye, unbelievable.
Mario Kart 64 is
Mario
good,
Kart
too.
64, yeah.
So good. And then we have an old Nintendo Wii. It's just not the same. That N64, I've spent so many
Great
hours
controllers, man.
Uh,
64 had
great.
great controllers.
What's the is it Ocarina of Time? Is that the one that came out in 64?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah?
I don't
I've
want
only
to
played
say
that.
yes and then get scolded, but
We've talked about this before. I've only played one Zelda game, and that was the first Zelda game.
Mm-hmm.
So
hey, that Mario 64 when it came out on Nintendo
Oh, it was
64,
groundbreaking.
It was
yeah,
like, oh,
it's
I
the
can't
first-
believe this
one
is
of the first
happening.
3D games
It
ever.
was, and it was
It
like
holds
that.
up, though. It's a fun game.
It's fun, yeah.
I think it is still considered the greatest Mario game of all time, even better than Super Mario on NES.
I would put Super Mario Galaxy as my greatest Mario game of all time, but that's just me.
Yeah,
I know
it's
most
good.
people would probably do 64.
Mario 3 is probably my favorite.
That's a great one.
Straight up Super
I'm
Mario
not
3.
lying, man. Super Mario
That-
3 is good
it
stuff.
Is that the introduction of the raccoon tail?
Yes. and
Maybe
yes.
it doesn't relate to anything, but maybe we should do a Sift Sword on Mario games.
Oh, that would be
sometime
hard.
soon.
I think
There's
that would
so
be an
many
entire
good ones.
episode, because people would just like, this is the hill I'm dying on. I'm not giving it up.
That's right.
That Mario paint's the best.
I reached back and saw a movie from 2016 that I had missed, and I wanted to let people know about because it's pretty good. It's called Bleed for This. Miles Teller plays a boxer, and I thought it wasn't great in my opinion, but if you like boxing movies, I think you're gonna love it. I thought Teller's performance was incredible.
It's a fascinating story too.
Yeah,
because you know me, I'm a huge boxing guy, so I actually knew about this guy before. But
Vinny Pensanini.
Pazienza?
Pazienza.
Pazienza, yeah.
Great story about determination and human spirit and will and what you're able to put yourself through for what you want.
Yeah. If you want kind of one of those, determination kind of stories, if you don't mind the violence, because there's the violence of boxing. I mean, it's a decently hard R too. Like it doesn't shy away, from a lot of that stuff. But if you don't, enjoy a boxing movie, you might enjoy it.
Not to get into too spoilery, but how graphic was the car crash?
I thought it was handled very, very well.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say graphic at all.
Okay.
So yeah, no, I thought that was fine. Well, there we go.
Cool.
We did it, guys.
Huzzah!
We did a podcast. Podcast happened.
Now that's podcasting.
It was amazing.
Now that's what I call a podcast.
That's better. Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Siftpop is part of the Studio DNA Podcast Network. You can find out more about other live and later shows on the network by following the feed at mixlr.com/Studio DNA. That's mixlr.com/Studio DNA. Huge thanks again to today's guru. It's Jack from the Horrible Movie Podcast.
I appreciate it.
Thank
you.
Tell people where they can find you, imbibe your content.
Okay, we are on iTunes, The Horror Movie Podcast, thehorrormoviepodcast.com, revolverpodcast.com, Google Play, anywhere you find podcasts, you can find our podcast.
If you search for Horrible Movie Podcast, will you come up?
On the internet, you'll come up with us
Okay, cool.
on there. And then a bevy of other places. Twitter at One Horrible Movie. I tweet a lot of just random stupid stuff on there. I think to the point
I think that's what a lot of people do on Twitter.
But Twitter is a very weird place.
I think
I love it, man.
I think that's the company logo.
Yeah.
Or slogan.
Is anyone even seeing this?
We tweet a lot of random stupid stuff.
And then you'll get retweets, and you're like, okay, so someone's looking at this, and it's really weird.
I have really
Facebook page, also like our Facebook page.
I have really fallen in love with Twitter as a way to talk movies with people. Like, it's become my outlet, because I do a lot of different things, but Twitter has specifically become my pop culture outlet. Like,
That's interesting.
I love it. There's a real cool community there that, is kind of built, and I think I'm 10 away from 1,000 Twitter followers. So you could be my 1,000th.
One thing about Twitter, the polls you can do on there are kind of fun.
That's a good way.
That's
how I actually started.
Right.
I started by tweeting out polls about which movie do you want me to review, and I just realized that a lot of people were there, chatting movies and stuff. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. So yeah,
cool.
Definitely hook up with Jack and the Horrible Movie Podcast. They have fun. Great stuff.
Two times a week, a midweek episode, and then a Friday episode.
Very cool. Much love and gratitude as well to our Patreon supporters for giving monthly to make this show and others on the network possible. Support starts at $3 a month, comes with some pretty fun perks. You can find out more at patreon.com/studiodna. There are a lot more ways to connect with the podcast. SoundCloud, you can tweet at us as we mentioned, iTunes comments, or you can email us at feedback@siftpop.com. And finally, if you're having a good time, let your movie-loving friends know about it, because they'll probably like it too. Share the love. Just let them know it's kind of like your weekly drip from the mysterious blue bottle. Spoiler chat this week, by the way, will be up in your podcast feed soon. We'll see you back next week for some talk on Legion and more. Peace out.